Hello, we are back, and I'm delighted to say, after making tremendous efforts, we do have Dorthe Mejlvang from Maersk back with us here for her presentation on the approach to sustainability. Many of you will know Dorthe with her role as Senior Category Manager at Maersk, but she also sits on the Green Procurement Committee at Maersk and is also one of the IMPA Save Council members, very passionate about this subject of sustainability and putting a lot of time into this within Maersk. So without further ado, I will hand over to you, Dorthe, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen, and I'm telling you that I'm delighted to be here today, even though it's only virtually, and especially since I was up at 3:30 this morning to prepare for this. A little bit about myself. I started with Maersk in '99. I've been in procurement all the time, and right now I'm taking care of the consumables, the provisions, and the PP safety related items. I have a small team of 25 people working with me on this. My agenda today is to talk to you a little bit about what's happening in Maersk on our sustainability side. I'll talk about our baseline, how it has been established, and about our KPIs. So if you will move the slide down, then that'll be fine. You all know Maersk, so I probably shouldn't say so much about that, but just to add to what you were saying, Salvatore, it is actually true. We are the business that has been making the pandemic worth a living for, so to speak. Even when COVID-19 struck, we were still working, many of us, maybe not at 100%, but at 150%. And that has, of course, not prevented us from putting a lot of new efforts at sea, so to speak. Yeah, that's a pun. We started our sustainability drive in 2020. Of course, it has been up and coming for a long period of time, but that's where we started putting even more pedal to the metal. And if you can change the slide again, Tom. Yes, thank you. Then it came from our top management as a defined goal that by 2050 we need to, in Maersk, to be carbon neutral. Along the way, we need our vessels to be carbon neutral already by 2030, and that is not something that can be done without us being involved all around in the industry. These targets, they're very important and necessary, and that also makes them extremely inspiring. They're already driving all our engineers and scientists, again, together with all our relationships with innovators and investors and policymakers worldwide, into trying to make a logistic solution for the future. I know that we will succeed, even though I said try. Our climate commitments are also extended to supporting our customers' carbon targets, and we will need all the hands on deck from suppliers, from other ship owners, and also from our customers out there. So if you can show the film, Domenico.
Alright, so I guess we can
Thank you. Next slide, please. So when you saw these two slides on the small film, we have, of course, also seen them, and that was the top-down instructions that we got from our Maersk top management already a year ago. We in Maersk Procurement, we soon realized that this is not something that will come easily. We also found out that we will be in the driver's seat, and we also found out very soon that we need the suppliers to help us meet all these sustainability goals. Our sustainability ambition is pretty clear. We want to multiply benefits of trade. We want to have responsible ships recycling, halving food loss, and decarbonize logistics. But how do we get there? We get there by cooperating with suppliers and look into the SDG goals that are applicable for our industry, which are 13, 12, 9, and 17. Next slide. I think it was half a year since our CEO, he was asking innovators to come, asking innovators that within a short period of time, we will be requiring more methanol that is actually available in the world today. I have done in a much smaller scale, done the same with the 15 suppliers I had meetings with a month ago, where I said to them, we are going to have these 8 new buildings. They are going to be CO2 neutral. Everything that we need to have delivered on board these vessels need to be green, sustainable, and the best possible choice for the future. That means that no plastic bottles, all stationery needs to be green, the galley equipment needs to be green, the safety equipment as much as possible. And that of course calls for a lot of innovation. We'll only go ahead with the sourcing for these vessels in the beginning of 22, but I mean, we need the suppliers to assist us. What we have seen also from our other sourcings in Maersk is that, for instance, a trucking sourcing that we did in Europe, one of the trucking companies had found a small innovator who said that they had found some tires that would result in a 7% reduction in fuel when they were used. And of course, they won the tender, and now they're passing on that information to other trucking companies in Europe. So it actually does help to spread the word, and that's what I'm hoping to do today. Next slide. So a really practical way of looking into this has been 3 things. First of all, look at our contracts. Do they even cater for green procurement? Do they cater for all the new things that we want to do and have delivered on board the vessels? So our frame agreements have been and will be updated as we go along, as we embark on this journey. Already now we have a lot of innovation included. We also have the requirement that our suppliers should be able to create a baseline first and also describe the improvements that they're doing. On the supplier innovation side, I mean, it's easy to say, well, go and innovate. Of course, that can't be done, but we can at least spread the word, and we know it's a long journey. What we do is that we have, and we are a lot of buyers in Maersk, 300 plus, is that every time that we hear about initiatives on supplier sides, on our technical side, from suppliers, customers, even peers in the industry, then we lock them in a system, and then we have a goal of every month we must take 1 or 2 initiatives and bring them to life. So that is on the supplier innovation, and then of course sustainability initiatives within Scope 3, which is the procurement of goods. We have the Maersk Mc-Kinney Center for Zero Carbon Shipping. They have been established in Copenhagen, and together with 7 funding industry players, they have donated 400 million DKK as an initial step. A little bit about the electricity, and I'll get that in another slide, but supply innovation as well. 70% of all electricity consumed in Maersk is consumed on the terminals, which is of course maybe easy to understand with all the moves we are making. And there we have gone into a partnership with a Forbes 500 company. So they are helping us reducing those numbers. Next slide. So the challenges today is that create a baseline and set some targets. We are of course using the science-based targets set by the Global Compact, World Resources, and WWF. I have some examples on the next slides. Then we are also aware that because we have such a huge consumption on fuel, that our target our scope 3 is not relevant, but we have nevertheless decided to attack that as well. Regarding the tools and reports, we for now we have started a new department in Maersk called Platforms, and they will help us look into this big data and also creating the tools. But here it's extremely important that other members in the IMPA society, that they assist us and come up with best practices, which is also why I have joined IMPA Safe. Next slide. So just to see, so this is the baseline that we have been creating. We know 64% is coming from fuel, 1% only from electricity, and then as you can see, the 36% is in the scope 3, where we have upstream transportation and distribution and purchase goods and services. So it does matter, even though it's below 40%, we will still go in and put a lot of effort into reducing these numbers. Next slide will show you some examples on how we do the upstream EcoScore. And this is just a fun example on how we're trying to develop a baseline for something that we've been doing for many, many years. I know all ship owners and ship managers, they are sending out a lot of goods for the vessels, but it can be machinery, it can be consumables, electricals, all kinds of stuff. What we have done is that we have mapped everything we have been sending, both air freight, sea freight, and trucking. So now we can drill down fleet group, vessel name, category, transport mode, and thereby have a baseline so that we can see now we move more goods locally, when we try to air freight as little as possible, when we try to become more and more decentralized on our procurement, that it actually matters. But this is a good tool. You can see that Santa Rosa is the one who has been having the highest payload on the CO2 side. Next slide. So what is it that I want from us and from the industry? That it's easy for us as ship owners and ship managers just to lean back and say, well, we'll wait for our customers. And it's also easy for our suppliers to say, well, we'll wait for the ship owners and ship managers. But we need to have a dynamic duo or trio here, actually, that the suppliers help us push the customers, or the customers help the ship owners to push the suppliers, and all the way around. Because we need to have a reduction of CO2 emissions. We need to help our resources not to be depleted. We need to reduce our waste generation, which is also one of our top priorities in Maersk. And then again, the safe disposal of hazardous waste. It was very, very disconcerting to see the presentation before about the animals suffering in the water, and the biodiversity conservation is, of course, paramount for all of us. I can then tell you that our new vessel is less noiseful than the ones that we have today. But yes, the green products and services is going to be very important. And I want to emphasize again what Michael was saying. We cannot do it alone. We need to take the first step. And we, as ship owners, we would like that the push comes from us and from the suppliers. Because we know in a very few years, it'll be coming from the customers very hard. Next slide. So that was all I wanted to present to you today. If you have questions, I would very much like to answer them. I don't know, Stephen, if you have some comments already that you would like to share with me.
Yes, and I think Mikkel's going to join us as well here. Thank you for that presentation, Dorthe. It was quite extensive, and clearly there's a tremendous amount of work going on in this arena within Maersk.
Yeah, there is.
So you mentioned that you'd got over 300 purchasers within the business. I mean, how do you go about getting this sort of embedded within the culture of procurement?
What we did 2 years ago was that we added sustainability and innovation to everybody's objectives and KPIs, meaning that you have to focus on it. Of course, if you're a category manager, you need to focus on it even more than a buyer. but even the buyers need to have some kind of awareness and some objectives that are concerning sustainability, because it comes in all senses. If you're a category manager and you're sitting and making an agreement, you still have to have it implemented from a buyer, and the buyers can do a lot from preventing sending all the air freights out, for instance, and preventing the vessels, or having the first touch point with the vessels when they are ordering stuff.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Dorthe?
Yes.
On the not on the very last slide, but the one before that. What I'm hearing you say that between suppliers, customers, owners, managers, don't sit and wait, but act. That's kind of what I read from your phrase. Your company is a large business, and I would have expected a lot of businesses are coming to you with solutions. Is that the case? Is that something you would want? I'm not suggesting everybody should call you, but
I would, Michael, I would actually be very happy if people called us, because what I saw, and I was just mentioning the 15 suppliers that I was talking to, and the reason why I'm talking to them so intensively right now is because of the new buildings, as I said. All of them had ideas, but none of them had come up with the ideas if I hadn't asked and if I hadn't invited them to my office. So I would like to encourage all suppliers to approach the ship owners, approach us, because we are very open for new ideas, and especially right now, because we have our deadline is extremely tight. So if somebody have solutions, then they should definitely come up with it.
Okay. I'm sure there will be people listening today with ideas and who wants to talk to you about this.
I think, Dorthe, you mentioned innovation several times through your presentation, and I think you're giving a really strong message to suppliers out there that, innovation within sustainability is what you're looking for, and what ship owners and managers are looking for to be able to drive, sustainability. You can't do it on your own. You need your customers, you need your suppliers. And I think that's a powerful message to be putting out there. Is there anything you would add to that?
I just remember, was it 5-10 years ago when we started on the responsible procurement side, where we all felt that we were alone and nobody wanted to embark on the quest with us, the whole CSR thing. Yeah. And now it's common sense. Everybody it is just part of normal category management, procurement way of life. And I hope this sustainability will soon be such an embedded part of how it is to do business in the marine industry, that it's part of it's who you are and who we are.
Yeah, business as usual sort of culture.
It is.
Yeah, I think there's tremendous efforts by Maersk and obviously within IMPA's community to be making these step forward in terms of really pushing sustainable initiatives forward. But where do you see the challenges, the barriers to making progress? Because I think awareness, I think you're dead right with this. When we started with IMPA Act 10 years ago, it was really a struggle. But I think with sustainability now, people accept it. But I think there's still barriers to progress. And how do you think we can overcome those?
I think by participating in things like this, getting the word out there that we are open.
Good answer.
Because I think next, some of the suppliers put it quite clearly that in 2009, after the world crisis on then everybody was looking for cheaper items, and I'm simply not hearing this again. And I'm not saying that it has to be expensive. It definitely doesn't have to. I'm just saying that now is the time to go in and innovate, because we are not looking for the cheapest item in the cheapest port anymore. We're looking for the best item, the most sustainable item delivered on board our vessel. That being said, we have also seen that when we drive sustainability, it could be, for instance, Michael, with the plastic bottles, we are actually able to get a comparable and a price that can compete with the normal water if we just put volumes behind it. So I'm not. I think we're on a good trajectory here. I think it's good business for everybody to become more sustainable.
Excellent.
Yeah, and without stepping on anyone's toes, I mean, you just said one thing about the pricing. People always, and I've been in this industry for some years, even though I'm partially out of it. So it's easier for me to look into the glass bowl now, to be honest, without being bipartisan in any way. But I've also myself heard, being on the supply side, it's all about price. Yeah, you got to be competitive, but you can also be innovative at the same time and still be innovative. And that's basically what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think.
Wanted to hear it again.
Yeah. I mean, just to reiterate, there's some suppliers, questioning, perhaps how to come forward to Maersk. But I think the key here is to have an innovative product and solution that contributes to the ship owners' sustainable journey and strategy. And I've had these questions with suppliers, a bit in the past, and I think, do your research, understand what's happening with the ship owner, understand what their objectives are and how you can innovate to contribute to those. Because I think that as we move forward with this journey, there's a long way for suppliers to go, but a lot for suppliers to offer. So, I think this, as Dorthe said, is the working together, collaboration, which is always the key when we have these sustainability discussions. We must work together. We must work together with this. In terms of the sort of the plan and the strategy for Maersk's sustainability, I mean, this is something presumably continually being worked on and developed. I mean, you're part of the Green Procurement Committee, Dorthe. What's the remit for that? Are you actively looking for suppliers and new products and new things to do here? Is that what the committee does? Or?
It's not exactly what the committee does, but what we're doing is that we make sure that the entire Maersk universe is covered. We both have representatives from our factories, from our logistics and services, from our warehouses, terminals, Maersk Supply Service, Maersk Line, which I'm representing in category management. So what we're doing is that we are discussing the new initiatives. We are bringing it up to the major stakeholders if we have some good ideas. We have a direct line into our head of sustainability in Maersk that can help us promote good initiatives that we want to have promoted. That's how we got the water promoted. So yeah, everything that can come up that could be interesting, we are of course looking into. I would still say, again, Steve, I think if people have good ideas, come to me or go directly to IMPA, because I think that could also serve as a good repository for good ideas on what the industry could look into at some point. But I mean, for me, please contact me also directly if you have something interesting.
Yeah, that's a great offer. And actually, you make a very good point about the IMPA Save initiative, and we are certainly going to be exploring that sort of central bank of information for sustainable suppliers. So so that will also hopefully share some of the knowledge and experience of things that are working for other ship owners and managers. That was fantastic. Lots of compliments on that presentation. You made a fantastic effort to be here today, Dorthe. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I don't know if there's any other questions from you, Mikkel, before we say goodbye.
Yeah, just one, Dorthe. If there's an owner or manager sitting out there, and I think I mentioned earlier that it's a jungle for some, but virtually for all of us. So you got to start find your place to begin this journey. Can they equally reach out to you if they need information on your KPIs, if they need information of where to start? Are you willing to share that knowledge?
Definitely. Yes, definitely. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
So there is no excuse for not to do this, in other words.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Well, I think we wrap up there. We say thank you to you again, Dorthe. That was wonderful. And We will now take a break and come back for our next presentation at 11:10. So thank you, everybody, and
That's
see
in
you.
15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah. 15 minutes.
All right.
Okay.